Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Codcast. I'm Andrew Snaith.
Whitby go long for Timon.
What a save! Wow. I mean, that would have been a worldie of a goal, but an equally superb save there to deny it to Watson Robson.
Say that again.
Someone's just got to appreciate 2 moments of quality, haven't you? Audacious strike, but a quite remarkable save as well.
Passing goes back to Allen. Allen looking to play out from the back. Henry Brown now onto his right foot, looking to open things up. Henry Brown!
Oh, that was
whisker wide of a post.
Cuts it back and then Tuntawana arriving and he's blazed it wide, but via a deflection corner given as later Watson runs over to the linesman and Fraser is going to get himself booked for that as well. Chimalila just turning around, and where's he going to fall here for what perhaps, and just won't. In the end, it's Simpson who's able to use some pace and really get to that one there, but Chimalila just wiggled his way through and couldn't really get a clean connection on his strike. As Franco is just doing some Cruyff turns inside his own half, so it was rude to Matty Timon here with Chanson.
Superb challenge that is. Harrison Beeden coming
Yeah,
across.
that's Harrison Beeden at his best there. Jarrett Rivers are winning it back and cross comes in deflected and
Beeden there again,
stabbed away. Yeah, I mean, we had one from Alex Nelson in the first half. That was equally as good a tackle from Harrison Beeden there.
Gainsborough knocking. Simpson looking to get to the byline. Stands one up to the back post. Head it away by Smith. As far as Jackson. Jackson is 2-1! Jackson there, left foot fade. Into the corner. Isaac Allen, no sight of that one. The ball falling kindly for this former Scarborough man to break Whitby hearts.
Well, that was the story of Tuesday night. An absolute heartbreaker. It finished Whitby Town 1, Gainsborough Trinity 2. You heard the voices of Liam Ryder and Rob Hughes providing the commentary on This Is the Coast Extra. And I'm very pleased to say that Liam and his Whitby Town media colleague Paul Connolly joined me to look back on that game and to look ahead to a trip over to Lancashire. An absolutely heartbreaking finish to that game, Liam.
Yeah, it was a real killer, that one, really. The performance wasn't all that bad. Yes, Gainsborough had chances and probably the better chance of the two sides, but, it felt like Whitby were very much in the game. And as it goes, it's really 2 criminal goals to concede. The first one, a ball that's not been dealt with properly by Adam Gell, and then Tuntawana rapid pacing behind, he breaks through and finds the corner, and the winner as well. Just as late as it is, just get rid of the ball. It just seems a couple of attempts where we could have stabbed it clear and haven't done so. And yes, Ashley Jackson, I don't know if he knows much about the strike really, sort of just had a swipe at it, but it's found its way into the bottom corner, and I think that's just when your luck's out really, isn't it? When there's a reason that Gainsborough, like us, have a lot of games in hand, but they're able to find ways to win them, and they keep doing so, whereas we keep losing them. That is ultimately the difference between us and them at the moment, really, and just the way our luck's going. But I think the way we've got to look at it is there were positives to take from that performance. It's just now matching that level against the so-called lesser sides, and those teams in around us, because you like to think we could win them if we do play at that, but we need to do that consistently now, and hopefully that can be what helps us get out of this fight.
Indeed. Let's hear the thoughts of joint manager Lee Bullock, who caught up with Liam after the game.
Well, Bully, not the start you'd have wanted back to your life at Whitby Town. Again, with plenty of positive take from it, but ultimately falling to defeat against Gainsborough Trinity.
Yeah, well, it's story of the season by the sounds of it, just not quite good enough at home. 2 team talks completely changed, and one in the 46th minute and one in the 94th minute. Obviously start the end of the first half, going 1-0 up, don't concede, and then suddenly we've got something to hold on to. We can put belief in them, we can get men behind the ball, and we can work hard for it. Second half, we're a point better off in the 94th minute, and then don't clear a ball, bang, they punish us. That's why they're where they are and where we are. Really disappointing to lose the 2 goals that we did. But if you put the other 94 minutes into it, I thought it was a good, hard-working, honest performance against a very good outfit.
Yeah, and like on the whole, it felt like quite a bit of an end-to-end first half. Certainly entertaining for the neutral to watch. Gaines were probably Shane, in terms of the big chance, but at Whitby that got themselves ahead. One of the players you know very well, Matty Time, and a scrappy finish, and quite refreshing to see Whitby score one of those for a change.
Yeah, I thought we started the game well. We were on the front foot. We won a lot of the second balls, and we've hit a good couple of early strikes. A couple have just whizzed over the bar that a yard lower and flying in. The keeper's nowhere near. Then we've scored like you say, a goal from a set piece. Ball's dropped the mat. Get Matty in the 18-yard box. He usually scores goals, and he's done that. Then they started to really hurt us, basically just playing up through us, over us, down the side of us, and they created far too many chances. We weathered it, we got away with it, and then we conceded such a sloppy one on the 46th minute. Don't deal with one long ball, lad clean through. And it, like I say, changes everything at half-time, changes the mood of the lads. Suddenly they're thinking, here we go. They rallied them, and it was a good second half performance, spirited. They had one chance where young Isaacs played a loose pass to their lad, and the one that they stuck in the back of the net. We've had a couple of good moments. I just said them there. I found myself a few times just saying, like, the quality's not quite there. Effort, endeavour, 100%. The quality just to create just wasn't there tonight. And then, obviously, them two shocking mistakes that have killed them, and they're gutted in there. But that's football, isn't it? That's why we're where we are, and back on the bus going up into the promotion positions.
Yeah, and that difference there that you mentioned about, you can see why they're up there. They've got, I think one of the stats before, they've got 4 players who have all scored more than our current top scorer. So that that kind of sort of tells you a lot about where the two sides are, doesn't it? But yeah, just looking at the two games with goals a bit sort of closer, particularly the first one, there were a few warning signs early, weren't like you mentioned, where that high line, on the whole it worked well, but Tunsalwana and behind really a bit of a fall in the Whitby defence there.
Yeah, they tried to split us at times, and when they did, like I said, they went for the heart, they went for the kill of the runners, and we got away with a couple, and we defended some really well. But the one we've conceded, we've just let it bounce. You've just got to go and clear your lines, and the lads in behind stuck it away. I'll have to see it again, but in my head now, it's just poor and very avoidable.
Yeah, and then looking at the start of the second half, once again it was a bright start from Whitby. The best chance though, really a speculative one from Leighton Watts, but another day for a couple of inches higher, that probably nestles in the top corner there.
Yeah, I like the couple in the first half, but that's what we've been working into Matty, getting off him. Leighton struck it really well. Anywhere else, left or right, that flies in, and the keeper's made a great save. I remember us getting down the side a few times. DC's had a little header at the back post, couple of crosses. Other than that, we've just battled, and they've done the same. They, like I say, they've had one chance that we gifted them, and then the one chance at the end. So a point, I would have been happy with a point, but we've had it snatched off us at the death because we failed to clear our lines.
Yeah, and I guess really now the task for yourself and Jason Kenny is just going to be, you've got to look at the positive elements in that at times we mashed the team up there, and again on Saturday, a trip to Bamber Bridge, a side in a very similar position themselves.
Yeah, so we're proving we've defended well at times tonight. There was moments in the game where you could see we were getting a little bit what we've been asking for into Matty Time and people around him. Let's not be afraid to get your shots off. We'll do it again Thursday, we'll continue working. And then Bamber Bridge is going to be similar to that again, against a good outfit where we've got to be strong. We've got to learn from tonight quickly.
Yeah, and hopefully as well a couple of players back available too. Shane Bland and Sam Collins, both like they're sort of going to be back imminently.
Yeah, obviously we need the two lads back. We need all the bodies back we can get. There was a couple of tired lads out there tonight, but they've got 12 games to go now. We're going to need the full squad, maximum effort from Bamber Bridge onwards.
That's Lee Bullock speaking to Liam after the defeat on Tuesday night. Let's look forward to Saturday. It's a chance to hit back quickly. It was a rather unsavoury game at times in the home match against Bamber Bridge. Paul, I'm sure there'll be a few rivalries left to settle.
Yeah, that wasn't the best of afternoons for Whitby Town, that one. Obviously a 2-0 defeat, wasn't it? But obviously the sort of flashpoint of that game being the sort of elbow on Frankie Whelan, and then subsequently 10 minutes later Frankie Whelan being sent off for a rash challenge on the offending player in the previous incident. So yeah, obviously we'll be hoping for a little less drama in that respect, shall we say, on Saturday afternoon. But yeah, it's going to be another tough game for Whitby, and one where Whitby really do need to come away with 3 points when you look at the weekend's fixtures, which we'll touch on in a moment, I'm sure. Obviously, Workington Morpeth being one of those, and Stocksbridge Prescott, all teams around in that mix at the moment. So it's a big one for Whitby this weekend, that they need to go out and they need to win. And look, they've just got to build on the last couple of performances. Obviously, going to Hensford, that was a good, honest, hard-working performance. And the Gainsborough game as well was a good, honest, hard-working performance, albeit us coming out on the wrong side of the results. So obviously, in terms of that, that doesn't give me too much in the way of worrying, because, I look at Whitby teams over the course of this season, and I've never once had to sort of question any effort or any endeavour, or any sort of, want to go out and positively affect the game. Whether the quality is there at times, that's something that's obviously maybe a little bit of an issue. But yeah, obviously we've got to go out there and take all those positive aspects from that sort of Gainsborough performance and the Hensford performance, and take that into a game at Bamber Bridge, who, are a decent side. But you look at it, they went on a run of 1 defeat in 8, and got themselves in and around that playoff mix, but they haven't won in their last 3 as well. So there is a chance there for Whitby to go and cause them problems. But yeah, we've got to obviously sort a couple of elements of our game out as well on the back of that, to ensure that we give ourselves the best possible chance of coming away with 3 points. We've spoken about how, we can be very good at the back, and we know that we can. But again, we can't afford to give away just silly, sloppy goals like we have done since sort of the back end of November, really. We had a good run sort of October, November time. Obviously, in that time, we did lose to Bamber Bridge, but we had a good run then. But since the league game, obviously, I think we spoke about this between us in our sort of chat. You look at it, and that's been a bit of a turning point for this season, because, obviously we weren't free scoring, and we don't score goals very often, which is something we need to rectify quickly. But, we missed 3 or 4 good chances in the first half there, but we conceded goals that, have become almost routine goals that we're conceding. They're getting sort of caught in behind, whether it's sort of through our own doing or just teams breaking an offside trap. That's been happening quite regularly. But as well, like, just shot from the edge of the 18-yard box. We don't always seem to defend the edge of our own 18-yard box brilliantly in terms of closing balls down, in terms of closing players down. So yeah, that's obviously something that we're going to need to look at going into it. And one stat I'll leave you with for just for this section anyway, is up to the Ilkeston game that we won last month, our last win, we'd led in 9 games and we'd won all 9 of those games in all competitions. And since that, we've led in 3 games and we've lost all 3. So in terms of things that we do need to change, obviously scoring goals is one of them, ensuring that we're on it in terms of defending, whether it's those sort of balls in behind and over the top, or it's just those areas on the edge of our own 18-yard box. But as well, we need to start showing that resilience that we showed in 9 games previously and start applying that now going forward, because that's not a habit that you want to get into in terms of leading games and dropping points. Because we hadn't dropped a single point from leading positions before that, and now we've dropped points in 3 games. We've lost 3 games where we've led. So yeah, that's definitely something that we need to look at rectifying.
You can't help thinking that's a psychology issue. That's very interesting, actually, Paul, that stat. Liam, I know there's another aspect that I touched on a little bit earlier about this fixture. Of course, it was a bad-tempered affair when we played last time, and you're worried that players don't get drawn into any of those individual scuffles.
Yeah, because, you sometimes find with these fixtures that, especially when you've got a bit of ill-mannered sort of behaviour towards each other in the first fixture of the season, the battle's not always done. It comes back in the second game. So, we've seen it before where we've had players that we've had sort of gripe with. You and Bang this time, we saw it. Brian Murphy caught it perfectly, an elbow straight in the face of Frank Green, like Paul mentioned. The odd stray hand in the face of Alex Nelson as well. So, and plenty to sort of carry over from that one, who basically played the victim in that, didn't he? So, yeah, you do feel that is going to play its part. And, by all means, you've got to go for them. You just got to be careful because you've got to bear in mind it's a different referee entirely. He won't have any context to it. But the main thing is that we don't let that become the main topic of just trying to, let's get some revenge on you and Vans. We need to focus on trying to get 3 points ourselves. Simply because of the fixtures in around us, that teams are going to take points, whether it be 1 point or all three around us. So, that's the most important thing, is getting a result and hopefully putting that to bed. I mean, the way to do it, try and just keep you and Banj out of the game as much as possible. And I know the elbows can't go flying in again, and keep him out of the box, because with his height, he's going to be a menace in the air. So that's the main thing. But yeah, it's striking that balance, I think, really, of let him know he's in the game, but at the same time, don't get too carried away and ultimately cost us more points if someone gets needlessly sent off.
Absolutely, yeah. Punish him on the field by winning the game, and hopefully we'll have a very strong referee who'll be across that. Let's get the views of Connor Smith, who I caught up with earlier on today. So Connor, hugely disappointing to lose out on Tuesday, especially in the manner of the defeat, with pretty much the last kick deciding it. A lot, though, to be positive about. Not maybe a result that we deserved.
Yeah, Tuesday night was very tough to take. I think on reflection, we did compete well throughout the game, but they had 2 or 3 moments in the match and they took 2 of them, and therefore it kind of explains why they're up that end of the league and why we are where we are. To concede 2 goals in stoppage time in each half, just need to make sure we're switched on right to the very end, because unfortunately we should have definitely took a point from that game and we ended up with nothing, which is the hardest bit about that for sure.
Lee Bullock back in the hot seat, joint manager alongside Jason Kennedy, of course. Have you had a chance to have a chat with Bully since he came in?
Yeah, I've spoke with the manager. I've worked with him before, previously at Whitby. I know him quite well. He's made it clear what he wants in training. Definitely the attacking style he brings. There was little bits of that the other night that started to come through. Certainly when we created that chance at the end, where their player made that last-ditch tackle, just the way it opened up was something that we had been working on. So it's good to see that translate, and hopefully we can get a few more positions like that and implement the style that he wants game by game.
Yeah, and is there still plenty of confidence in the dressing room after what was a pretty good performance against Gainsborough, despite the result?
It certainly was a game that had a lot. I think I remember correctly that going down to 10 men, we dug in quite well. But I think not so much motivation, but it was a lesson. We need to learn the lesson from that game, because they're a very good team and they ran out deserved winners. So I remember their target man and the wingers were getting in quite a lot. So we need to learn that lesson and solidify things, because otherwise we'll be in for a very tough game. Additionally, though, we did cause them problems at our place. So if we can implement those same attacking threats, then hopefully we can come away with a positive result.
Yeah, and it was termed the Battle of Bamber Bridge when we lost out there earlier in the season. I mean, I'm guessing the lads will be right up for that.
After a game like that, it's very hard straight away to put into words how you feel, because it's probably more frustration than anything. I think we take confidence from the fact overall this season we've competed well against most teams, and especially teams who are doing well towards the top of the league. I think barring Heaven, who in that away game in the second half dominated, I don't think there's been too many games that we haven't been in. So I think the confidence comes from that. We just need to translate that competing in games into points to pull us away from the position that we find ourselves in for sure.
That's Connor Smith speaking to me. He had a pretty good game on Tuesday night by most accounts, and we hopefully can move on and get a good result on Saturday. Paul, I know you've been looking at some of the other fixtures taking place this weekend.
Yeah, I think I referenced it earlier in it sort of being a must get 3 points sort of weekend for Whitby. Obviously, Workington and Morpeth playing each other at the bottom of the division. So, in terms of that game, it potentially really sort of snarls up that bottom three. If Workington win that game, if Morpeth win it, they're potentially a point behind Whitby. So that's obviously a game that we're going to be keeping a very close eye on. Stocksbridge playing Prescott as well. Prescott in and around Whitby in the table. Stocksbridge, if they win it puts them in a really good position as well to try and attack those sides in that little bracket above them, of which we're one of them. I think if we lost and they won it would put Stocksbridge 2 points away from Whitby in that respect as well. So just from those two fixtures alone, obviously it's a weekend where, as long as Whitby win, then they can't do too much damage to us. But it's one of those, if we can win the game and Morpeth and Stocksbridge lose, then, it's potentially a very good weekend. If we lose and Morpeth and Stocksbridge win, it's going to be very, very squeaky bum time. And obviously, Liam mentioned earlier about games in hand and not winning games in hand. It puts even more importance on those if you don't do your job when you have the games in front of you. So yeah, they're obviously two fixtures that are going to be, really, really big ones to keep an eye on from our point of view. Obviously, we'll keep everyone up to date during the commentary, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of Whitby fans around the ground checking the scores as well as they go on. But obviously, other games around as well. Cleethorpes and Rushall both only 3 points ahead of Whitby. It's a chance to potentially catch one of those and just sort of keep them with us as well. Leek, not that far above us as well. I think 3 or 4 points. They're at home to Hebburn, so they've got a really tough game. Obviously, the Hebburn have got a long journey there down to Staffordshire, but obviously, they're flying at the moment. Hebburn, they're the top of the league, and the top of the league for a reason, and they're going to want to keep it that way too. So, yeah, they're going to obviously give Leek a lot of problems. But yeah, for Whitby, it's potential to be. I don't think there can be an average weekend for Whitby on this one. I really don't. I think it's one of those. It's very much all or nothing this weekend.
Very, very interesting indeed. And of course, if you can't make the game yourself, the best way to keep in touch with that match and all the other games going on in the MPL Premier, particularly those that affect the Blues at the bottom half of the table, is via our commentary on This Is the Coast Extra with Paul, Liam and the rest of the media team. Let's have some good news, because it's been a bit gloomy, I think, so far after that disappointment in midweek. Hopefully Sam Collins will play some part on Saturday as he continues his recovery, and also this man is hoping to be back as well. Shane Bland, who I spoke to earlier on this week. So Shane, you're ready to be back for Saturday. Just tell us a little bit about the recovery and the work that you've been doing with the likes of Neil Ince and the other coaches there, and getting yourself fit, ready for the weekend.
Yeah, it's been a frustrating period of time. 4 or 5 weeks not being able to play, not being in and around the lads, not being in and around the training ground, and not being able to play on a Saturday. Fortunately we've had some games called off in the last 4 or 5 weeks, so I haven't missed out on much there, but yeah, it'll be good to be back. Like I said, I know the next couple of weeks is just going to be just trying to get through it as much as I can, because I don't want to be out for much longer. But hopefully I can help the lads get out of the situation we're in.
Yeah, and obviously you've worked under Lee Bullock before. Have you had much of a chance to catch up with him since his return as joint manager?
Yeah, it's I think with Bully coming back into the club is a big positive. He knows the club inside out, knows how the club works, and obviously with his experience, as a player and as a coach, and obviously now as a joint manager, hopefully we can kick on. The intensity in training has picked up, and that's what Bully's all about. Wants us to do well, wants us to enjoy our football as much as we can, but at the same time, he's a results man as well. So it's very important that in the next couple of weeks, we get some results of the game midweek. You could see signs of what Bully's put in place. Just in the end, obviously the lads were unfortunate not to get a point. If we can iron those things out in training, no doubt that we'll have a strong finish to the season.
Yeah, and I know you've kept an eye on things in the 3 games you've missed. Just a word for the young man Isaac Allen, who's stepped in for those 3 matches. Is still just a teenager on loan from Sunderland, a young man with a bright future ahead of him.
I think Isaac's been fantastic. I've only seen him in training, and then I saw him in the game midweek. And I thought, for an 18-year-old lad, very confident, very vocal, calm under pressure. I thought he's done extremely well. I listened into the game at Hennisford, and it seemed like he had an absolute blinder. But you don't mind that when a keeper comes in, whilst you're out and does well for the team. And like I said, he's over the past few games he's played, he's been a good servant to the club, and I can't thank him enough, and I know that the goalkeeping department can't thank him enough, and hopefully the club can't thank him enough as well. So he's got a really bright future, and I wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah, and we look ahead to Bamber Bridge at the weekend. Another tough game against a side in good form, just below the playoff places in NPL Premier. But it is a ground we won at last season. A vital game for the Blues.
Yeah, Bamber Bridge is a tough place to go to. Obviously, they're flying in the league at the moment, always in and around that position at this time of the season. And yeah, they're looking strong. I think the game at home, again, I don't want to sound salty here, but I just think how the game panned out there, wasn't fair for us, if I'm honest. I think obviously we had a poor referee that day, and decisions didn't go our way. But Bamber Bridge came to our place, and they did what they needed to do. And again, it's a results business, and that can be football at times. But yeah, Bamber Bridge, they're a good team. Good team, good manager. And yeah, it's going to be a good test. But I'm hoping that with training, training Thursday, we can put plans into place and get ready for that game.
That's Shane Bland, hopefully donning the gloves and taking back the number 1 shirt ahead of Saturday. Of course, young Isaac Allen has done very well, as Shane himself admitted. He's done really well, and I'm sure he's got a big future ahead of him, Liam. But yeah, it'd be great to see Blandy back.
I mean, I hope so, considering that Isaac's gone back to Sunderland literally midnight last night as we're recording. So yeah, hopefully it does sound promising that Shane will be back involved, which is good. But yeah, Isaac Allen had a couple of hairy moments, shall we say, on Tuesday night against Gainsborough. Got away with one. There was one in the second half where a very straight clearance, luckily just trickled wide of the post. You were expecting that to go on the back of the net and put Gainsborough ahead earlier than what they did. But yeah, on the whole, that Hemser game in particular, he was outstanding. And Isaac as well, to be fair, he made a really good save in the first half on Tuesday night against Gainsborough. So, he's certainly been a very capable replacement for Shane Bland. I don't think any of the goals were conceded when he's played in that game at Hebden and Gainsborough on Tuesday. I don't think any of those goals were, shot you'd expect Shane Bland to save even. So it's not like he's affected how Whitby want to play in that front. But having Shane back, I think the main thing is that he feels ready to come back because he's had a few sort of muscular issues this season. And really that game at Prescott when he did get injured, he shouldn't have carried on looking at it, and that possibly hampered us getting maybe not 1 ball, but perhaps all 3 points, because you could just tell he wasn't himself in that goal and couldn't move properly. So I think again it's going to be a game that is probably going to be tested on Saturday. But the main thing is for us just having him there, having his sort of commanding stature, I guess, in that Whitby goal, back in the side and available to us, because that's that is key, and he's been in these situations as well, just his experience of being in relegation battles at Whitby Town over the seasons. That could also prove priceless. So yeah, I think great to have him back, and good to see that his recovery hasn't taken too long as well.
Absolutely. Paul, as always, on this podcast, we end with Booster Budget.
Yes, yeah, Booster Budget. It's one of those things that, hopefully could come in handy over the coming weeks to try and just bolster the options in the squad as we sort of head towards a run-in now, and we're trying to get away from relegation danger. So, yeah, that's obviously something that could come in handy. So if you're able to help and help Bully and JK, add to the squad with, a decent loanee or two that could maybe be the difference maker between us staying up and or not. It's well worth just getting involved if you're able to. You can donate as little or as much as you like via the club website. Just go to whitbytownfc.com and go to the shop section. You can set up your donation from there. You can do it monthly, or failing that, if you don't want to do it through the website, just give Craig Moth, the club treasurer, an email, treasurer@whitbytownfc.com. And yeah, just have a chat with him if you want to maybe do a one-off donation, or you just want to do it a different way than through the website. So yeah, a couple of ways that you can get involved. And we really do appreciate people's efforts in just trying to help out, whether it's just a £5 a month or whether it's more than that. There's some people that donate in $50 a month. Some really great support on that front, and the club, Bully, JK, the coaching staff, everyone on the board, it really do appreciate it, and it's a massive help in just keeping things ticking over in terms of bringing those players in on loan.
Absolutely right. So just to mark your can, Saturday, Whitby Town on the road. It's Bamber Bridge over in Lancashire, providing the opposition in NPL Premier. And of course, if you can't make it in person, the best way to keep in touch is via This Is to Coast Extra with Paul Liam and the rest of the team there. Thank you to Paul Connolly and Liam Ryder, as well as Lee Bullock, Connor Smith and Shane Bland, as well as to you for listening. And we'll be back next week with another Codcast. Bye for now.